The first thing Eleanor Price noticed was the absence of sound. In a house built to cradle children, wide corridors muffled by rugs, doors weighted with velvet drapes, a nursery designed to echo with lullabies, the silence pressed it like a held breath. It was the sort that made a person aware of their own pulse, their own trespass into a place that no longer wished to be inhabited. The year was 1911, and the Ashcombe House stood at the edge of Hertfordshire's low woods, a red brick monument to inherited wealth and private grief. Eleanor had arrived that morning by carriage, her single trunk carried in by a driver who refused to linger. Even then, as the wheels retreated down the gravel drive, she felt something essential leave with them, as though the house preferred fewer witnesses. She had been hired as a temporary nursemaid. The letter was formal, written in a sharp, educated hand. 1 child, infant, nights required, discretion expected, generous compensation, no mention of the previous staff, no explanation for urgency. Eleanor, recently dismissed from a London household after her employer's sudden death, had accepted without question. In her line of work, questions were a luxury. Now, standing alone in the great hall, she felt the weight of her decision settle into her bones. Mrs. Ashcombe did not come to greet her. Instead, a thin woman in her 40s, introduced curtly as Miss Calder, the housekeeper, led Eleanor upstairs without conversation. Their footsteps echoed too loudly for such a grand home, as though the walls had hollowed themselves out. "The nursery," Miss Calder said at last, stopping before a pale blue door. "You'll remain here from dusk till dawn? The child wakes often." "And the parents?" Eleanor asked, keeping her voice respectful. Miss Calder's hand tightened on the door handle. "The master is abroad. The mistress keeps her rest." That was all. The nursery itself was immaculate in a way that felt staged. A white crib stood near the center, its rails polished daily. A rocking chair sat unused in the corner, its runners worn but still. Shelves of toys, wooden animals, cloth dolls, lined the walls, each arranged with unnatural precision. The windows faced the rear garden and the bordering woods beyond, where the trees leaned inward like conspirators. Above the mantel hung something Eleanor did not expect. A brass-framed apparatus, mounted carefully and wired through the wall. It resembled a small photographic box, its lens dark and unblinking. "What is that?" Eleanor asked. Miss Calder hesitated. "An observational device. Mr. Ashcombe is an innovator. He wished to monitor the nursery from his study." Eleanor had seen experimental cameras before, long exposure devices requiring stillness, patience, and light. This one was newer, sleeker. A faint hum emanated from it like an insect trapped behind glass. "Is it active?" Eleanor asked. "At night," Miss Calder replied. "You needn't concern yourself with it." The baby stirred then, a soft sound from the crib, more breath than cry. Eleanor moved instinctively, lifting the child with practiced care. The infant's eyes opened, dark and unfocused, staring not at her face but past her shoulder, toward the window. Eleanor followed the gaze. There was nothing there, just the glass reflecting the room, and beyond it the garden dimmed under an overcast sky. Still, unease crept in. That first night, Eleanor remained awake by the crib, rocking gently whenever the child whimpered. The house changed after dark. Sounds traveled differently. The ticking of the clock grew oppressive. The faint hum of the camera sharpened as though it listened. At midnight, she noticed the first anomaly. The camera emitted a click. She startled, looking up. The lens remained fixed. No flash followed. She told herself it was part of its mechanism, perhaps capturing still images at intervals. Then the baby stiffened in her arms. He did not cry. He went silent, his small body rigid, eyes locked once more on the window. Eleanor turned slowly. A shape stood outside, not fully formed, more an absence of light than a presence. A silhouette pressed close to the glass, tall, unmoving, its outline blurred by the condensation forming on the pane. It did not tap. It did not breathe. It simply watched. Eleanor's heart pounded. She took a step back, the floorboard creaking beneath her foot. The silhouette did not react. When she blinked, it was gone. She checked the window latch. Locked. The garden beyond lay empty, dew-slicked and moonlit. No footprints disturbed the soil. She told no one. In households like Ashcombe, panic was a contagion. Better to observe, to wait. The second night, the silhouette returned earlier. This time, Eleanor saw it first through the camera. She had been studying the device, drawn by an inexplicable compulsion. A small viewing panel beneath the lens glowed faintly, displaying a grainy image of the room, a marvel of modern engineering. But in the corner of the frame, near the window, stood the shape. It was clearer there. The figure appeared elongated, its proportions subtly wrong. Its head brushed the top of the frame. No features were visible, just depthless black where a face should be. Eleanor turned sharply. The window was empty. Her breath caught. She looked back at the camera. The figure remained, static, watching. She covered the panel with her hand. The hum faltered, then resumed. The baby began to cry. By the third night, Eleanor could no longer deny the pattern. The silhouette appeared only after dusk. It never moved. It never approached. It watched through the glass, or through the camera, when the glass showed nothing at all. She began keeping notes in a small journal, recording times, positions, and the baby's reactions. She noticed the child never cried when the figure was present. He stared transfixed, his tiny fingers curling as though reaching. Eleanor asked Miss Calder about the previous nursemaid. The housekeeper's face tightened. She left without notice. Did she mention anything unusual? Miss Calder's gaze flicked toward the nursery door. You are paid to tend the child, Miss Price, not to indulge fancies. That night, Eleanor did something reckless. She moved the camera. The device was heavier than it appeared, bolted to the wall with care. With effort, she angled it slightly, directing the lens more fully toward the window. The image shifted. The silhouette sharpened. For the first time, Eleanor saw that it was not standing in the garden. It stood impossibly close, its outline overlapping the reflection of the room itself, as though it occupied the space between glass and air. Its head tilted just slightly in acknowledgement. The baby laughed, a soft, delighted sound, utterly wrong in that moment. Eleanor felt the room tilt. She stumbled back, her shoulders striking the wardrobe. The camera clicked rapidly now, a frantic series of exposures. When she looked again, the image was empty. So was the window. Sleep became impossible. Eleanor's mind turned inward, dredging memories she had long buried. She had grown up in a village near the Thames, where a woman once stood accused of neglect after her infant drowned. The child had slipped into the river while the mother slept. The villagers whispered that something had watched from the reeds, waiting for the moment of inattention. Neglect invites the watcher, they said. Eleanor had never believed such stories. Now she wondered what the Ashcombes had ignored. On the fifth night, she heard footsteps outside the nursery. Slow, deliberate, barely audible. She opened the door to the corridor, empty, stretching long and dark. At the far end, a window overlooked the same garden. A shape passed across it. Not the silhouette. Something else. Smaller. Moving. She followed. The house seemed to resist her, doors sticking, shadows pooling where they should not. She descended the back staircase, emerging into the conservatory that opened onto the garden. The glass walls reflected her pale face, her wide eyes. Outside, the grass lay undisturbed. Then she saw it, a child-sized depression near the nursery window, as though someone had knelt there for a long time. Eleanor recoiled. Behind her, the conservatory door closed. She turned. The silhouette stood inside the glass now, not outside it. It loomed behind her reflection, its edges bleeding into her own shape. For the briefest moment, she felt a pressure at her back, a cold where her spine met the air. Then the lights flickered. She woke in the nursery chair, dawn bleeding through the curtains. The baby slept peacefully. Miss Calder stood over her, lips pressed thin. "You will leave today," the housekeeper said. "Your services are no longer required." Eleanor did not argue. She packed in silence, her journal hidden beneath her coat. As she descended the stairs for the last time, she glimpsed Mrs. Ashcombe standing in the drawing room. A pale woman, her eyes hollow, her gaze fixed on a photograph in her hands. A photograph of the nursery. In the glass of the window, a dark shape watched. Years later, Eleanor would learn the truth through a newspaper clipping, an investigation, a fire. The Ashcombe house was reduced to ash after a fault in experimental wiring. The child, miraculously unharmed, was found alone in the garden. The camera melted beyond recognition. No bodies recovered from the nursery. Eleanor burned her journal that same night. But she never forgot the lesson etched into her bones. Some horrors do not chase. They wait, they watch. And every time we choose silence over action, we invite them closer. Thank you. Please subscribe.